Nothing quite like getting out there and enjoying a day of boating, but sometimes boating can be costly, and it's not always the cost you think about. Sure, there's fuel, there's insurance, and buying the boat, but many times we'll inflict some very costly things to our boat, kind of like we see in some of these images, and just like some of the things we're going to witness in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Take this crew for example. I can't imagine what this yacht rubbing against the dock would cost in the end. I bet there's probably at least 10 to 20 grand worth of damage. Let me know down in the comments below. And speaking of costs, why not? We'll do a little Price is Right. As we run through these clips, let me know in the comments which one you think's the most expensive clip of the day. That one right there was pretty pricey as well. Here, this one's not so costly, but it probably still costs a little in the end. Our guys tried to unload off the ferry, waiting for the go sign from the crew on the dock. And here we go, they get it, and they wind up coming off, and just a little suspension travel, probably not a ton there. But this crew winds up taking a shot. Here they wind up getting close to the shore and things go wrong. On this one, the most costly part actually might be the things that flew out of the boat. Somehow, miraculously, both these guys stayed in the boat after the hit. The boat is still running, which makes me think that things overall are okay, and both the guys involved wind up getting out okay as well, which is an absolute shock in this one also. Maybe they get away with only a couple $100 worth of supplies missing. Much better than our next crew who winds up losing an entire truck. Now this one might be the most costly so far of all. I'm guessing this is somewhere between a $60,000 and $100,000 truck, and I'm also just guessing if this is saltwater that thing's pretty much totaled at this point. Now this one's kind of minor as well. It looks like they pulled out just a little too early, and maybe one of the bunks broke on the trailer. And then, of course, nothing like losing a light going under the bridge. At some point in time, if you boat long enough, you're going to do that and hit it. And right here, well, this guy, they've actually saved money because they didn't buy tow insurance, but they will need a detail on the boat. Now, fortunately, our guy is able to actually break them free, so they are able to get off the sandbar and get on their way. Again, kind of a cost savings, but I still recommend getting the tow insurance instead of getting drenched like that. Because the last thing you want to do is trust somebody who doesn't know how to tow, and the next thing you know, they wind up breaking your boat, and your boat's trash. Speaking of your boat being trash, ever wondered how expensive it is to get rid of a boat? Apparently up north it's not that bad.
Oh my god. What?
Now, sometimes when you're enjoying a day of boating, the most expensive part of boating won't necessarily be the fuel, the things that you get out there and do, but it might be the fact that you decide to take everybody out to eat while you're out on the water. Or maybe you stop somewhere and the crew wants to get some souvenirs. Kind of like this crew who decided they wanted one of those Jersey Shore hoodies. I have a feeling, though, this is going to be one of the most expensive Jersey Shore hoodies they've ever purchased, as this boat right here you're about to see in a moment winds up completely beached. Now, most places actually have laws about this, where you can't get within a certain amount of feet of the actual beach itself. I'm guessing this is the same? Let me know in the comments if that's true, but I got a feeling this crew's gonna regret this one.
No? Oh my god.
Now, of course, the real question is, once something like this happens to you, do you still go get the hoodie, or do you only worry about the boat and trying to get it back off the beach? I mean, at this point in time, we're gonna hope something that we mentioned earlier, they actually have tow insurance. If not, that's probably gonna be an expensive pullout. And speaking of expensive things on the water, go ahead, let's write it up in the comments, get this party rolling. Let me know what your most expensive mistake was that you ever made while you were out on the water boating. Or maybe you were on somebody else's boat who made a very expensive mistake. Let me know, because I'm just curious to see what everybody's doing out there that they most possibly regret while they were out on the water. Now, I don't mind starting, but unfortunately for me, I don't have any truly crazy stories. Most of my mistakes have been very minor in the end, but I've made plenty of them, so they add up to a huge cost. But a lot of the mistakes I've made, obviously, coming in a little too hot around some docks, maybe having to get some fiberglass repaired, things like that, but nothing overly substantial at this point in time, knock on wood. Probably the worst mistake I ever made was actually getting high-sided with a trailer and being stuck for an hour, having to wait for a tow truck to come, get the trailer off the truck. But that was a completely different story. It wasn't really expensive, but it was annoying, and I annoyed other people as I was blocking traffic.
This is so great.
Now, sometimes those mistakes that we make, like I mentioned, they won't be all that costly, but they're still very agitating. Sometimes those mistakes will agitate us, and other times it'll agitate others on the water, kind of like this situation here where our guy decides to get a little too close to the boat. He's lucky he's good, he's still on the ski, you can see him pull away. And then of course you've got big boy toys out there, and it doesn't take much. Let me know in the comments what you think the cost on something like this was, as they just peeled the front of this catamaran like a can. It's very small, but I'm wondering, is that a lot of damage, or is that something they're probably never even gonna fix? And then of course, never fixing things is another fun one. How often do we drive to somebody's house and we see something like that in the yard where it's been sitting there forever? Or somebody who leaves something just sitting around on the rocks? Now, this crew's enjoying their dinner on the back deck, so I'm assuming they're waiting for the tide to come up, but I have to imagine sitting on the rocks like this, there's gotta be a little bit of damage somewhere. Or there's at least going to be some marks and scuffs to prove that they did it, at least when they tell the story later. Now, when you do make those mistakes, you try and find ways to pay for them. So one way you might pay for it is deciding instead of filling up on the water for the rest of the summer, you're just gonna get some gas cans and you'll buy gas from the gas station for a couple dollars less a gallon and fill the boat up that way. Now, sometimes some of the most expensive mistakes we can make on the water have no real monetary value to them, because those most expensive mistakes will be the ones where we feel it for a week or two to come. Maybe we did something a little wrong, we smacked something the wrong way we were out there, and the next thing we know, our back's feeling it for a week or two later. Or we decided to go out and push it on a bad weather day, and our crew decided we were gonna try and enjoy that day of boating anyway, and the next thing you know, you wind up straining some muscles as you're trying to save the boat. Now, the ones that are always wild to me in these cases is this crew chose to go out on the water that day. They probably looked at the weather, saw it was going to be a little rough, and opted, you know what, we've been planning this for a week, we're going anyway. The people I feel the worst for are those who don't choose necessarily to go on the water. That's their job, and they have to be out there no matter what, kind of like this crew here. Now, fortunately in this one, several people wind up in the drink, but everybody's okay. Nobody gets hurt. It appears they're having some sort of mechanical failure. The engine on the left-hand side of the screen, I saw the guy trying to restart it, so that appears to be the issue with this one, that they were down to one motor. But again, it's still one of those things where their body's gonna feel that one for some time to come. But again, it's tough to feel bad sometimes for those who put their bodies at risk on their own accord. They go and do some silly things out there on the water, and the next thing they know, they wind up paying the price for it, like we see here. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know when you might see your stories over here. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button.